Hi guys, today we're going to discuss fear for the trading psychology workshop. As we discuss, we're also going to look at USD CAD for next week. Considering that last week closed bearish, we should see some bearishness or a little bit of a drop and a reversal because markets could also be bullish. So many times we sabotage our own trading because of our fears. In most cases, when it comes to actual life, fear is very good and helpful. But when it comes to trading, it can be very harmful, especially when you're not aware of your fears. Most people have the fear of taking losses. Most traders do not want to accept their losses. That's caused by fear. So fear helps us avoid things in the environment that we perceive as threatening. It's important to note that what we perceive as threatening may not necessarily be threatening. We just perceive it as threatening, especially taking losses. Taking a $10 loss is much better than taking a $20 loss. You might see taking a $10 loss as threatening to your account because you're losing, but it's better than actually blowing your account or taking a $20 loss. As far as our minds are concerned, it is a real threat. Taking a loss is a real threat because our account is going down. That's something people need to work on. Even I need to work on that. We all need to work on that. No one has mastered that. Maybe some. Okay, so we have a high. We have a low that price is approaching. So this is a very important low. And then we have another low. If price breaks, we have another low. If price rejects this low that is approaching, then price will be attempting to reach our high. All right. So when we focus on our losing trades, mistakes, or things like that, we give our subconscious mind powerful directions. We could then easily end up with the same losses that we are trying so hard to avoid, especially that time when you tell yourself, it's just a $5 loss, I can hold my account a little bit longer because you do not want to be wrong. What we focus on our attention on is usually what we get. So if we are focusing on losses, that's what you get. Instead, you should be accepting your losses so that you can focus on those profits. Sounds like a good deal to me. All right. So there's one thing to note here. I normally don't use trend lines, but price had a trend line right here and it broke. Right? So technically, you actually do not need to use a trend line for you to know that a trend has been broken. Because if you were to look at this, right, if you were to look at the low that was created right here, you're looking at the previous high. Where is the previous high that we could potentially be watching? We could say maybe this high. That's where price is at, right? But this high, there's another high right here, right? So the moment price broke our first high, that was our trend line being broken, because price is no longer creating lower highs. Instead of creating lower highs and dropping, price went up. What it's going to do is create a new low. So it can go high again, maybe another low, high again, another low, high again. Similar price action to that. That's what normally happens. It's just something to check. It's just a list. Something to learn. All right. So it's not necessarily as easy on focusing our attention on winning trades and proper trading mechanics to get us successful, but it's not that far off either. You see, if you do continually focus intensely on your mistakes and proper trading decisions, you are most likely, truly, you're most likely to end up with more of the same. So if you focus on your losses, you're most likely to end up with losses. If you focus on your profits, you're most likely going to end up with your profits. Accept your losses. Your subconscious mind sees the mental pictures you're giving it and sets out the direction that it's receiving from you. So if you're busy thinking that you can only lose in the markets, surely you will just end up losing, because that's the mindset that you have, and those are the pictures that you're telling yourself. So your mind, even say your subconscious mind, will pretty much do everything it can to make sure you get your losses, because that's what you're concentrating on. All right. Now we're on the daily time frame. So this is the law that we said price is approaching on the weekly time frame, right? This law right here. And looking at our last week's daily candle, still closed bearish. So chances are price could still go down to complete that clean traffic. So if we look to our left, there's an order block right here. So we could simply say maybe the other block right here. We could simply say, instead of having that as our order block, this bearish candle becomes our order block. So because price moved higher, came back to retest that area and then went higher. So if this price can come back, get into our order block area, reject and go higher, then this is confirmed, it's our order block and price is in a range. But before we go all to that, let's look at the area that price last broke out from. That's a very important area, right? So we could say this was a break, right? But if we look right here, we have clean traffic and we do not want our zones to be getting in the way. So I would say this is our last breakout. Why is that our last breakout? Let's see, we're the high. Actually, let's start with this one with the high, drop, high, and drop, right? Created a lower high and price broke out. Even though it's not a big range, the moment there is a bullish candle right there, price ranged and then dropped. What did we say? Peak formation, range, and drop, right? So this is our level 1 drop. So what we need for price to do is we need price to come back to make probably a stop hand high for price to make another drop. So having that information, what could we expect? We could expect price to drop to complete to our order block, reject, retest, give us a stop and high to complete our drop, right? Because even if we were to look at this, some sort of a trend has been broken. We also have 3 peaks. So some people would say we have a head and shoulders, right? We even have some sort of a head and shoulders, making our analysis more trustworthy. So I don't know how many things that confirm what I'm trying to say, but there it is. All right. So like I said, your subconscious sees the mental pictures you're giving it and acts out on the direction that it is receiving from you. That is how the subconscious mind works. It takes the mental pictures that you give it, like worrying about getting a loss or worrying about trading mistakes that you have made in the past, and does the very best to act out on those directions on your behalf, because that's all you are thinking about. Instead of saying, okay, I made a mistake, how do I work on this mistake? Where do I get it right next time? And your subconscious mind will work on that, because you're trying to get better. You're seeing how you can improve, how you can get those profits. But if we just concentrate on the mistakes and we are scared to even place a trade properly because of those mistakes, then that's not going to help us in our case. because your subconscious mind does not care if you're giving a direction that's not in your best interest. It just does what you're thinking. It just follows the information you are giving it, regardless whether it's helpful or not, because that's what's on your mind. That's your mentality. That's the picture that you see yourself as. All right. So there are still other ways our fear causes us problems in our trading. Remember, fear acts as a warning mechanism, is a warning mechanism to help us avoid what we believe to be threatening. Like I said earlier, in real life or in everyday life, not let's say in everyday life, when we're fearful of something, our mind, our subconscious mind, our body, everything about us perceives that thing as threatening. But in trading, it doesn't necessarily need to be threatening. We can use that information to our advantage. Instead of clearly seeing all the different pieces of information that help us make good trading decisions, we just do the opposite because we are scared of losing money. If you are scared of losing money, then you should not be in this game. We end up ignoring the important pieces of information that would be threatening to us, because when you're in a trade and the market is telling you that your analysis is wrong and your trade is wrong, most times, even I used to do it, we ignore the helpful information and just look for the information that's trying to prove our trade. And that's very dangerous because you end up blowing your account or running a big loss when you could have avoided all of that. Took your small loss that you can sort out later when the right opportunity comes. All right. When we trade with fear, we can easily block things out. That's very important. For example, in this situation, when someone is very fearful and they're just saying, okay, now I just need to enter this trade, they will enter right there instead of waiting for markets to try and reach this area first, because this looks like a much better place to buy than right here. Because right here, your stop loss might end up getting taken. Even if you miss the buy at this low, you can always enter the sell when price gives you the sell signals at this high. There's always an opportunity for you to take. There's no rush. All right. All right. For instance, we can also say if we're in a trade and the market is offering information that we indicate we are right, or information that indicate we are wrong, what information do you think you'll focus on? Because I know most people would focus on the information that says that they are right. Yes, it's okay for you to focus on that information, but don't forget that that info, for you to even think that you are wrong, or for you to even see a slight chance of you being wrong in a trade, you should consider that, because it's telling you something that you might not be seeing, because you are primed to think you're right because you want to be right. You don't want to lose money. So that's something that's very, very important. Ask yourself that question, because you obviously put a lot of weight in the information that makes you think you're right. Most people would think that. I know if you were to ask yourself that question, you're going to be like, nah, you could focus on the information that think you're wrong. Think hard. Think of those moments. I'm pretty sure you have them. Because this kind of thinking is very dangerous, especially if you end up winning on that trade. Because if you end up winning on that trade, you're going to keep on thinking that you always win, and you keep on doing the same thing over and over again, and you might win maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 trades, but in the long run that's not going to work in your best interest, because there's going to be one trade that will blow your account. So imagine weeks and weeks of work for one trade that's going to blow your account just because you're ignorant. Think about that. All right. There's also a way of seeing it from the other side. A winning trade will be handled in the opposite way by a fearful trader. His fear of losing will cause him to focus on what the market can take away from his current trade, from your current trade. Let's think about that. Okay, we're on the daily time frame. We've ended our last area price, broke out. I would say the next one would be also at a low right here. Because for price to reach this low, it has to pass through this low. There's also a minor zone right here. For price to reach our high, it has to break this high. 2 minute lines. Let's see what we have on the 4-hour time frame. Okay, on the 4-hour time frame, now it's time for us to adjust. We already get the gist on why we have our lines there. Like I said, it's always best to highlight your line so that you know where that line is coming from. But for here, I need to adjust to this high, right? And then we also need to adjust right? Because we can't have lines cutting through candles like this. No, you might think price is coming all the way to this area, but then you find price coming all the way to this area. Doesn't necessarily mean that your levels are wrong. It just means we're just looking at the best area that works in our interest. And then we watch when price reaches that area. Of course, this area is very valid, but this is a major one and this is a minor one because price can break any of these to reach this one. So I'm looking at the major ones, not the minor ones mostly. So this is our 4-hour time frame. And yes, of course, yes, that is yesterday, Friday, but yeah, last week's low, we need to highlight last week's low. All right. So where were we? Remember, in a losing trade, the fearful trader will focus only on the information that supports your current position and ignore the factors that does not agree with your opinion. But in a winning trade, the fearful trader will do the opposite. So you will ignore the information that states the market has potential to continue in your direction, and you focus on the information that confirms your fears of the market reversing from where you think it's going or from taking your profits away. And you get out of your trade because you do not want to end with less profits. So if you look at the situation, you want more losses and you want less profits, it doesn't make sense. That's why fear is very harmful when it comes to our trading. Because like I said earlier, it gets worse if the market does go your way, but you have existed the trade. Because you find it very easy to agonize over why you couldn't have stayed in the trade a little bit longer, and you won't realize the stress of why the fear of why that happened. You won't really see what really caused you to lose that trade, because all you're now thinking of is, I could have won, I could have taken all of these profits. You're not looking at why you lost. You're not looking at why you closed the trade. Yes, it's good to close your profits, but you should always have a good reason to close your profits early, something that's on your trading plan, not just because you thought like it or you thought, price is not going to reach to where I want. If your analysis was correct, your stop would have been correctly placed and market would have done what it needs to do. People need to focus more on take profits and stop losses a little bit more than what people focus on now. Okay, so these are many reasons why most traders cut their profits short and let their losses run. In a winning trade, you focus attention on information that makes the market go your way. Actually, in a winning trade, you focus on the information that make you close your trade early. And in a losing trade, you focus on the information that make you increase or keep your losses, which will keep increasing your losses and eventually ruin your account, right? So fear will obviously sabotage your trading because it causes you not to act in your best interest. And to prevent this, we must learn to trade without fear. And for you to be successful, you need to concentrate on things that the majority of the traders do. Letting your losses run and cutting your profits short will not is not going to help you in the long run. People need to stop that. Try, if you think that is hard, try placing your stop loss and your take profits, and just don't do anything to it. Don't even do anything. Don't even look at the markets. Yes, we talk about managing your trade and everything, right? But for a beginner, for your starting point, place your stop loss and your take profit. If you're okay with it, you will not move your stop loss and your take profit. Once you have mastered that, then you can now start looking at managing trades, because people concentrate on managing trades more than their take profit and their stop loss, which is very wrong, because most people end up moving their stop losses into deeper losses and moving their take profits into smaller profits, when they could have gathered so much profits and exited their trades with such a very small loss. So that is an idea that you could tell your friends to try. If it works, please let me know. So price broke out here, please understand that, but we are going to increase this range to this area. We're going to put the high right here. So what are we expecting? We're going to wait for Monday to open, and then we see where price is going to take us. The thing with USD CAD is mostly it moves in a bearish trend. If I'm entering USD CAD, I would very much like to enter USD CAD in a bearish trend, because if you look at this, look at the monthly time frame. Price was dropping. Of course, it corrected a bit, rejected this high. That means no trend was broken on the monthly time frame, and then price dropped. And then if you are to look at the current monthly candle, it has already engulfed 3 candles. So that makes the area, that the low that we talked about on the weekly, very important, because if price breaks this low, then higher chances that it will cover this clean traffic also all the way down here. So I would say price could reject, push up to our area before it goes down. So if someone doesn't want to enter the buys, if you're not sure of the buys, I don't like to enter buys on USD CAD most of the time. So I would say someone could wait for price to reach around this area or this area, then look for sales. But since these areas are far away, please consider taking the opportunity to buy from this level to this level, right? Your stop loss is very tight. That's why I'm encouraging for you to look at that trade, because your stop loss is going to be just below here. So if you are entering here, even if you don't enter here and you were to enter right here, stop loss is still very tight for the profits that you're trying to get. Maybe this is the trade that you could try, and try that technique of just placing your stop loss and your take profit and waiting. Yes. If you have any questions, please feel free to message us, and yeah, we'll help you out. That's all for today. I hope you all have a good day or evening, wherever you are.